All right, Tayanna, I have the urge to just call you like Tay Tay or Tay Squared or whatever, but liberty with nicknames on first impressions is something that I'm trying to get. That's my New Year's resolution, is to hold back on those. So anyway, just welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you so much. And like I said, I mean, call me Tay. It's shorter. I feel like my husband's the only person who calls me Tayanna anymore. And just last night, he found out that I got called Tay Tay in like middle and high school. And his whole face, he was just like, what the fuck? That's a thing. And I was like, yeah, it was a thing for young Tayanna. It was Tay Tay or Tater Tot.
Whoa. Okay. I was not expecting that, but that makes sense. Okay.
Yeah, Tater Tot happened a lot. It was really interesting. I don't know how we arrived there, but that's...
there is some like liberty. Sorry, and every episode starts off with this banter, so don't feel worried. It's like, I'm sure you could have like, come to my birthday party, kind of like things like that. Like, there's a few good puns in there. I feel like you could.
So my PSN username is Partey Delise, which is my middle name. And anytime anyone sees it, they roll their eyes at me. They're like, "Oh, really?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm funny. Thank you."
They're like, I am funny while I am gaming. That's awesome.
Yeah.
But, getting off topic even more for fun. What games are you into right now? I'm not a big gamer. I'm a social gamer. I'm an extrovert. Like, I will do anything. If my friends are like, hey, we're going to see how much dog poop we can pick up in an hour, I'll be like, I'm in. If we can just hang out. Like, I'm a hopeless romantic for friendship. And so, like, at the beginning of last year, my friends were like, hey, Adam, there's this Call of Duty game. And I was like, wah, wah. And then, it's called Warzone. And I was like, wah, wah, even more. And then, but they were like, it's free and we're all playing. And I was like, oh, okay. Eliminate the barrier to interest to me. And then, like, it was like, you already have the system, the PS4, which is like a million years old now. And it's been really fun, but I only want to play when my friends are on. Like, I don't want to play by myself. I don't want to do campaigns. I don't want to like see how many stars or gold or cash I can get. I don't even know the objectives. Like, I just want to play with homies. And so that's the only game I've played in like since college. Then it was like Halo. And so I'm very boring as a gamer. So what are you into on the gaming side of things?
That's actually really funny because I'm the exact opposite. Like, my husband's always trying to find co-op games for us. And I'm like, please stay over there. I don't want any part of a collaborative opportunity. I'm really into like open world RPGs. So I'm replaying The Witcher 3 for like the billionth time. I tried to play Cyberpunk, but I can't play first person games. So my husband's playing it and I'm watching. And Stardew Valley really often. I love to play RimWorld a lot. And I play a lot of The Sims. I feel like that's something people don't know about me. And then all of a sudden I'm like posting like really fancy houses that took me 10 hours to build. And they're like, when? And I'm like, that's my stress relief. Just don't worry about it.
That's awesome. I feel like The Sims is our generation's Minecraft, to where we're like, hey, we're building something. We're building like a society. And again, this shows my ignorance towards both games. But like, hey, we're kind of building a world, like other than The Office and Dwight building Second Life. That's the only kind of like capacity
Second
I have
Life.
for that.
I tried to get into that once and it was strange. I also don't think I was in the right age group to be trying to get into it, but like I tried and no.
That is awesome. Okay, so what we've learned is no group projects for Tayanna. That is what we know. It's like, I do not want to do a game with anybody. Whereas I'm like, please, like, yeah, I want to lead, but I'll gladly follow.
Yeah, no, I'm just like, I'm type A about like a lot of really weird stuff. And I'm just like, I don't want to have to carry you. Like, I don't want to have to like do this whole like rigamajig. Like, I just would like to play by myself and get the outcome that I want.
Yeah, no, I get that. Awesome. Well, cool. Outside of gaming, we wanted to have you on. I love talking to photographers and talking to creatives. We were already in the same Facebook group, which is an offshoot of another Facebook group that experienced a migration last year, if you will. And we won't get into that, but we were talking about this, and I know of only a handful of people who do this, and you are now in that handful. You can be the thumb or the ring finger, whichever you would like to be. These jokes are terrible. I don't know what it is. It's 2021. But you are primarily, and fill in the gaps, primarily a boudoir photographer, or overlapping, trying to position yourself as only doing boudoir. You're a recovering wedding photographer, as I would say, probably. And what we found out in the group is like, you're making it work, and not just making it work. You are succeeding at it. It is, a very solid income, and at least for you, I think. And correct me if I'm wrong. It was more, or becoming more than weddings, and you're like, it's becoming an easier decision for me. So, all let's say you're from Kansas City, Missouri. What other stuff do people need to know about you? And was I wrong on all of that?
No, actually, you were completely right. I think recovering wedding photographer is such a funny thing. So I quit my job last year after we got married, and my husband was just like, "You make more than me, whatever, do it." And so I quit. And I was just like, well, I really want to get this boudoir thing off the ground. Like I've been doing some stuff and I'm getting more clients, and then found someone to share a studio with. And there's like a place in Kansas City called the West Bottoms where like all the artists hang out.
That's so cool. That's awesome.
And it's also like where all of our haunted houses are. It's super weird. But like, so that's where I was. It was super cheap. And then just recently I was just like, oh, holy shit, like this is actually working for me. So I primarily photograph LGBTQ plus weddings. And then I kind of went into the boudoir space. I've just decided to take about 10 to 15 weddings a year now, where I was usually doing 20 or 25. So I've kind of slashed that in half, mostly doing boudoir. Last year, I cleared 6 figures just in boudoir, and then made about half of that in weddings. Obviously, I feel like everyone's wedding income was affected. So there was just a lot I had to take into account.
That's cool. That's awesome, though. I mean, that's like, what a freaking success story. That's really cool. How long have you been a photographer, like in general, or at least like making money at it, you know? And then what did you have before? What job did you quote unquote quit, you know, what last year?
Yeah. So I actually, so I've been doing photography since high school.
Okay.
And I went to college for it. Yeah. I don't recommend that. I don't want anybody to think that is me telling you to go get private student loans and go get an education in it. It was the worst thing I've ever done. But I have a degree, and it is in photography, and I love it. I mean, like, it was a bachelor's of science. So I will say that it was nice because I got to learn about the business side of it.
Yeah.
I started tagging along with someone else to second shoot for weddings, like soon after that. Okay. And then just kind of got into it. So I would say that I've had a legal business for about 5 years where I was actually making money and not people passing me 20s and like, you know, their fist when I walked by.
Yeah.
And boudoir has been, I mean, I think about as long as that as well. Like, I think like when I first decided that I was going to become like a legal business and actually do something with it. And so before this, I was in the tech space. So I worked for a local hospital, and I was doing admission, discharges, and transfers. And so basically, if a doctor was just like, why on earth can I not get this baby checked in, Tayanna, fix it. And that was me.
That is so interesting. Okay. I feel like there are a lot of like, you know, we'll just say like medical field people in the like photography space, either becoming or leaving. That's something about it. I don't know. Maybe there was like a theme there. But as I like interview other photographers, and even some of my couples, like at least here in DC, like half my couples are nurses, doctors, you know, work in hospitals. Like we can tell because they're posting photos of them getting the vaccine, you know, dose 1 of 2, you know, or whatever. So I'm like, oh, okay, they're healthcare. Okay, that makes sense. So that's really funny. Okay, that's cool. And then, yeah, just been shooting, you know, kind of overlapping what I would say, right? And like running that business alongside of doing the hospital stuff. And then eventually, like, you hit this point of like, okay, it's time to choose, you know, one way or the other.
Yeah. So I have been in like sales my whole life. I like sold, like I used to work for Apple for a while. I sold cars. Like I've done a lot. And then it got to a point of if anyone who works in the medical system knows this, like you don't have like much time to yourself. Like everything is, it's a really long and hard career to have. And so I was working 60-hour weeks. They were trying to put me on a pager system where I would be available 24/7. So like if I was at a wedding, I would be expected to drop what I was doing and go answer the phone and like grab my laptop and fix stuff. And I was like, I can't do that. And then on top of that, I was still working 40 hours on my business, like doing stuff. Like I would leave the hospital at 6 and then I would come home and immediately rush and go do like engagement sessions. Wow. And it just got to be too much. And my husband was like, you hate your job. You're sad all the time. And I was like, yeah. So what happens when you're working like 100-hour weeks between 2 jobs. And so I was just like, if I'm making the money, I'm done. Like, I just can't do it anymore.
Yeah, no, totally. I mean, I think too, it's like, at least when I went full time, fortunately, I liked my job, at least the majority of it, but it hits this like pressing point where it's like, you know, old school Bible college kid where it's like, you can't serve 2 masters, you know, it's like, I can't, you know, can't have both be at their peak and one's going to give. And then like, and unfortunately, I'm the only resource being spent at making this try to work. And it's like, I will be, you know, you got to choose. And it's scary. It's like, it's hard because you're like, okay, and on the bright side, I'm in full control of my destiny right now, and on the scary side, I'm also the one responsible for what's about to happen.
Yeah.
But it sounds like it's been working, so that's awesome. Congrats, that's really cool.
Thank you. Yeah, I love it. I mean, I love being able to make my own schedule. I love, I mean, even if I'm bad at it, I still feel like somehow I've overworked myself. And sometimes I feel like I do more now than I did when I was working 2 jobs.
Yeah.
But, the overall part of it is just amazing.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think it's one of those things where I talk to a lot of people where I've heard this phrase, and there's a lot we could talk about another day with like hustle culture and all that kind of stuff. And I think there's like a balance. Like, I do want to work hard, whatever that means, or put the appropriate amount of effort we need in, but definitely not too much. But it's when you love what you do, sometimes you have those weeks where you say like, I work 80 so I don't have to work 40, for somebody else. Essentially it's like, okay, like, again, I'm in charge, you can get up late or whatever. Like, I love asking people like what their favorite part about freelancing or working for themselves is, because for some people it's like, I like not having to care about my calendar. That's maybe some people. For me, it's like, oh, I can take a whole month off and hang out with my wife and not have to worry about it, if I plan for it or whatever, like, because again, extrovert, I want to hang out with people. I'm like, okay, what can I do and make it happen? And it's like, those are the people look at the money as like the thing, like, oh yeah, you can make 6 figures, or you can do revenue as 6 figures or whatever, or like whatever. But it's like the intangibles that you're like, oh, I get more time to play video games, or like invest in myself, or like I'm trying to like work out and eat right in 2021. And it's like, all right, well, I'm in charge of my schedule. No one else is in charge of my schedule, homie. So it's like, it's on us.
Right.
So that's pretty cool. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And like, when I always take December off, I don't work in December. First of all, I live in Missouri. It's cold as fuck. I hate it here.
Yeah.
And so I'm just like, there's no reason. Like, I don't like having to, I had a couple weddings, only one ended up staying, and thankfully it was very close by. But like, I've gotten stuck in the snow at weddings before. I just brought an SUV, so hopefully it never happens again.
Yeah.
But I'm just like, well, if it's a time, then that's when I redo all my websites. Like, I get all my stuff like ready. So it's like, I'm working, but I'm not really working.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah. And like, obviously if COVID wasn't a thing right now, we probably would have done a vacation or something like that, but it wasn't available. So, I mean, I think it was a nice consolation. Like, I just got to kind of breathe.
Yeah, no, totally. That's super cool. Especially after a year like last year, it's like even a break from work, but also like a break from, like everybody is stressed, or and there's a lot going on that like, it can be a privilege in so many multitudes of ways, as we both know, but it's like it's very difficult to check out last year and check out now mentally, and having like a forced time where it's like, nope, like if you want, you can check out, or if you want, you can, you can delete Instagram for the month of December, or whatever it takes to like have that mental clarity. So it's cool. And I think people don't realize too, it's like, that helps us. I'm always a big fan of like, that helps us get a better Tayanna, because you had that break. Like, nobody, the world, your husband, your clients, your people that you're rooting for and cheering for, like, they don't want the overworked Tayanna. They want whoever Tayanna wants to be,
Right.
And so that's always good too. Is like breaks. I again, like, I didn't realize how much like breaks and vacation and hobbies that I didn't want to make money at were crucial to having a good life, successful life, because it's like, I am like, okay, I want to be good enough to charge at this thing, kind of like video games, right? Like, okay, I do not want to be a professional. I do not want to set up streaming. I do not want to do any of those things. Like, I want to play with my homies. I want to kill people, in this video game or whatever. I want to say inappropriate things while we were doing this, and stay up late and eat terrible food. Like, that's basically it. And it will help me be, fulfilled mentally, so, I get that. That's super cool. What is it like? I want to know, like, Kansas City, Missouri, whatever we want to take with that, but I feel like you should be on like one of the coasts, like shoot it, you're one of the cool kids, and not that Missouri is not cool, but like I don't know, you seem to be the only person out there doing what you're doing, if you know what I'm saying. Like there's nobody. Does it feel different? Does it feel weird to be pushing like very progressive, things that I believe in, I think are really cool. I think we'll get to in a second. You're the first person that I've ever heard say ethical boudoir, so I want to talk about that. But like, how does that even work out there? Like, the 20 clients you have a year or the 50 clients a year you have, like, are they the only people in Kansas City that are interested in that? And you're like, nope, I got them all. Like these are all Tays. These are all Goodbodies. Like, do you know what I'm saying? Like, how the frick does it even work out there?
I don't see a lot of it happening, but on the same like scale of things, I have kind of like carved a place in my social media life where I don't have to see too much of things. I'm not afraid to block people just to protect my mental health. I am not afraid to, like, one of the things I always tell people is to curate your feed in a way that serves you. So like if you are, and I know a lot of people say like unfollow people who don't make you happy or who make you like second guess your own work and stuff like that. But I want people to go a step further and follow people who intentionally do make you feel good. So I follow, like, just last night one of my friends was like, are you ever going to follow me back on that account? No. And I was just like, that's just not a thing that I do. Like my entire account, like, is only other boudoir photographers, or it's people who are fighting for like fat liberation, like body positivity, like people whose ideals are the same as me, because that's what I want to see when I log into that. Like, totally. I don't want it to be full of other stuff.
Yeah.
And I think that Missouri has a like really big, especially like queer scene. And there are a lot of folks here who are like very progressive. Like we have like an arts district that's full of those kinds of people. And honestly, I have a lot of people who fly to me from other states now. Like that's a thing that I thought, like, when that started happening, I was like, oh shit, did I do something?
You did.
Yeah. I was like, oh boy. And that's so funny to me that you said that, like, it feels like I should be on a coast, because I have so many people who have told me, like, move your ass out somewhere. And I'm like, do you know what the cost of living is here? I live in a 4-bed, 3-bathroom house for like less than $200,000. I'm not going anywhere.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
My husband and I are thriving. And awesome. Like at some point, my partner, his degree is in, something fancy. Basically, it's like molecular biology. There we go.
Yeah.
He has a molecular biology degree, and he wants to go into epidemiology for his master's program. And if that happens, I have to go. Do you know how much I want to rebuild my business someplace like else? Like, because we'd have to go. And I think like Arizona is fairly liberal in some places and things like that.
Yeah.
But I feel like I would have to do it all over again and try to find my ideal client. And like, while I think that I've built a base where those people come and find me, and I don't necessarily have to work as hard at it.
Yeah.
It's just weird because sometimes, you know, you will get that occasional client who you're like, did you look me up on anything before you like reached out to me?
Yeah.
And because like I host like a private VIP group on Facebook full of people.
Yeah.
And one of those things that you have to do is turn on like post moderation in there, because people will do whatever the fuck they want. And I think like once last summer I was like, okay, we're stuck. Like we have everyone, like COVID's a thing. We can't really go anywhere. Did anybody still buy like a cute swimsuit? Drop your cute swimsuits in the links below. Someone posted a picture of a Confederate flag bikini. And I was like, ma'am, how long have you been here? What do you mean? And I was just like, and I didn't even see it. And this always happens when I'm doing something important. Like I'll get a call from like one of my moderators or from one of my best friends, and they're like, yo, you should probably get in here. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Wow. And I saw that and I was like, oh, instant, just like ban, block, delete everything. And I was just like, I don't know how you found my group. I don't know how you've seen everything that we do in here and thought that that was the route that you needed to take.
Wow.
And maybe she was just someone who was just like, look at this real cute bikini I got. Like, there's nothing weird going on here. Yeah. But that's just even more strange to me.
Yeah. It's like, man, I don't even know. This is like a whole other conversation, but I like having it. It's just either there's like an ignorance is bliss kind of thing. But at the same time, like, part of being self-aware is, read the
room, read the literal VIP room. Like, don't do
it. At least for me, I don't know, but part of me would be like, do you know who runs this group? Do you know who's in charge? Have you seen an avatar, a portrait, a headshot, anything? Take a guess, take a guess. But at the same time, there. Yeah, I mean, there's I can't say this to myself, but there are times when I want to say this, and man, this podcast is going to we're already there, which I love. But like, that's a moment where I can see this after the last few years of paying attention and starting to care about a lot of things that needed to be cared about. But like, that's when you're like, watch whiteness work. Like this lady, I think like DeRay McKesson talks about this all the time. He'll post something that's insane. You're like, oh, damn it. Or like just last weekend. And it's like, that is exact, she didn't know. Or there was nobody who ever was like, hey, nobody's ever told these people who need to read the room to read the room. But that's usually what happens. And
there's also that person who doesn't care. Like that person who's just like, you're going to have to deal with it. And it's just like, oh, no one's ever told you no before, huh?
Yeah.
Well, here you go. Here's your first no.
Yeah, goodbye. Oh, man. Okay, awesome. Well, that answers my question, I feel like, for the most part. That's cool. So you have like and I feel like this is happening both because of the internet and, being around larger cities in general, or just cities in general, where there's like any college town, there's going to be a group of people who are at some level fringe, and then some people like, hey, this is like our whole city, whatever. And that creates like a good group of people to market to and be like, oh, okay, they align with my values, or they align with, we're kind of on the same trajectory, if you will. The bus is going in the same way. That's kind of cool. That's how I feel here in DC, where like, DC's work, if you Google DC wedding photographer, most of this, what you'll see is kind of this like, and it's good photography. The photographers are great, but it's like, very bright, very, granite, marble, all of our monuments and memorials and all that kind of stuff, engagement sessions where people look like they're wearing wedding gear, probably to most of our weddings, like they're just very decked out. And it's really cool. But what's happened over the last 10 years, and I've been here for 7, was I feel like I'm getting the, kind of the quirky, the fun, the LGBTQ, the nerdy people who maybe they're an analyst at the Pentagon or something like that, but they make a lot of money and they're like, oh, that doesn't look like us. Or I'm getting a lot of, people who have funky t-shirts or whatever. Like, and, at first it scared me because I was like, oh, I have to be like what the market is. But what the reality is by carving, like you said, myself and kind of going with the other who I want to be, ironically, I attracted more people that were like me, and have found that there is like a dorky, nerdy, want to save the world, optimist, liberating, learning, self-aware, all these kind of like keywords group of people here in the city, that I didn't think there were, and it's been really fun. That's all I have to say is like it's so nice to be like, oh, you don't have to leave, and this won't be like, it's not like, oh, I had one cool client a year. It's like, oh no, like most of my clients are cool, and then I'll have like 1 or 2 that are like, hey, we actually want the bright and angelic looking thing, and like, oh, okay, great. Like, you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like you don't have to sell your soul to run the business,
I see that all the time, and I love that, and I love that like those are the people who are finding you, because I think that. So like I have friends here in the community who are like super, super scared to just like talk about what they believe in, because they're like, I don't want to drive these people away.
Sure.
And like, I try not to hold that against people, but at the same time, I'm just like, there's a reason why you're getting these clients whose beliefs don't align with yours. And it's because you aren't putting your beliefs out there.
Yeah.
And people think that the money is going to dry up if you are real with people, if you tell people who you are, if you fight for what you believe in. And that's simply not true. It just means that the right ones are going to find you. And those people are going to be the ones who want to give you your money.
Yeah.
Like I've had people who don't care what I charge and who will just reach out and just be like, give me this and this and this because I believe in your mission. I believe in you.
Yeah.
There's people whose like beliefs don't align with mine. When my partner and I got married, so I'm like what they call like an invisible gay, basically, because I married a straight man. But I am, I guess, technically pansexual. And like I've dated women before, and there was a chance in my life that I might have married a woman. And you know what? Maybe I will if my husband acts up. We'll see what happens.
You act a fool.
And so when we got married, I was going through and we only hired wedding vendors who told me that they also would service LGBTQ couples.
Sure.
And if their answer was no, then I was just like, okay. And we took our money elsewhere.
Yeah.
And I feel like that just happens. I mean, it's something that like you can choose where your money goes. You can choose to support people, like hit them with their pocketbooks, hit them in their pocketbooks is like what I like to say. Like if you don't want to support something, just don't give those people your money.
Yeah, no, totally. Yeah. Especially if you have the choice, and it's like most people do. And like, I always tell people too, like I live in DC and like, something like a Whole Foods, right? And at the very basic level is like, there's a market for those people or people who love Whole Foods, which I like Whole Foods, but I'm not, I don't necessarily, I'm not as passionate about where beef comes from yet. You know, I'm not there. But like people who are, or people who need to, or people who have certain allergies, you know, all that kind of stuff, like there is a market for them, right? There is a market for everybody. I used to say, I toured in a metal band, and I used to say, if Marilyn Manson can have fans, anybody can have fans. And that was kind of our goal, was that like there is a market, you know, and it's a niche market. And I think people are learning more and more now, on either side, right? Like there's people in Missouri that, you know, are posting their Instagrams to Parler or something, you know, which we could talk about a whole other day. But like, hey, there's a market for you if that's you, you know,
right.
please don't come visit DC, but again, ever. But like that can be them. And I think too, it's like, goes back to the people buy from brands they know, like, and trust. And it's just like, hey, like give them more to know about you and where you're at. And again, it's not that anybody, at least in my mind, it's not that you have to be perfect, but like you have to pretend like you're trying at some level, you know, like I don't know. It's complicated, but it's I tell my mentees the same thing, is like, you have to give them permission to, you know, hey, it's okay to be yourself. Like, hey, the money's not, as we are examples of the money not drying up, ironically, by standing strong, no matter what we believe, and niching down on our brand and only posting and curating better. It's like, things have gotten better, which again, 5 years ago, I was like, I don't know, like I'm still going to post this pretty bright and airy wedding because I want to make sure that those people know I could work for them. And then it's like, nope, you don't need them, or you don't need to shoot weddings like that to have a successful life or fulfilled life or happy days, or, you know, whatever. It's like, you can, that's the beauty of, you know, the internet, is like, we can make money doing what we want to do, you know, and there are people out there. And it's like, and again, this is why you're on this podcast, because I had you in that Facebook group and I was like, oh snap, she knows what's up. So anyway, we're just chatting.
Or at least I try. Like, I don't know, like you said, like it's really interesting mentoring people, because that's one of the first things. And I feel like people try to like toss it by the wayside, and they're just like, I can just be everything for everybody. And I'm like, you really can't. Like, it's just no way to live your life. And that's how you get overworked and underpaid. And you have to really kind of like narrow down and you have to like figure out something that's going to be just for you. Yeah. And so, you're right. And it's very scary trying to do something like new in a space where like it doesn't really happen.
It's funny. It's like we can come up with this now, and maybe somebody already said this, but let's claim it as ours together. It's like, if you try to be everything to everybody, you'll be nothing to nobody eventually. Ooh, you know, I think like that's basically what it is. I think too, you know, something I talk to a lot of people is this idea, and I think I'd rather strategize, you know, usually for a lot of my mentees, there are some who are like very fresh, they've only shot one wedding or whatever. And I kind of tell them, I say, hey, you know, if you really need the money, right, if there's some other intangibles that are helping, you know, kind of push this decision, then I'm okay with them, you know, being more generic at first. You know, I'm kind of like, hey, if you have to do the purely business side of this and kind of forget the brand for a while, then go for it. But just kind of know along the way, you know, you're going to have lucky clients. You're going to have those clients where you're like, oh man, that was really cool. But all the rest of them, they're, you know, normal or satisfactory, but they will be, you know, good lessons to learn. You'll get your workflow down. You'll know what you like, you know what you don't like. You build your portfolio, relationships, all that kind of stuff. Versus somebody, you know, maybe like you, who had a full-time job that would cover the costs. I always tell them it's easier. I say, hey, you can niche down now. Like, start like curating, like anything you never want to shoot again, do never show anybody, period. You know, like, because you have that safety net, you know, of being full-time, and not that it's like fun or enjoyable for a lot of people because you want to go full-time, but it's like, hey, let's build up the exact business you want to have when you transfer to full-time. And it's hard. I was definitely on the, like, when I first started, I took everything. Like I shot a guy's Tinder profile pictures for him. I photographed sports teams. I photographed soccer games. I photographed I literally shot time lapse for a flooring company, basically watching paint dry. I was photographing the progress of the paint for them.
Holy crap.
You know, but it's like, that was because I wanted the business side of it to work. But eventually, though, like, if you only stay there, that's where you get burnout, because you're not doing what you want to do. You're doing kind of what you want to do. You know, you're like, okay, like, my paycheck is working, you know, we're paying the rent, which I think is awesome, and that's like a cool goal. The next level is like, hey, could you shoot what you love and still make the same amount, you know, or get pretty close, you know, or enough. And I don't know, that's what I love watching people do. It's like, you know, even if you made less doing boudoir than weddings, or like overall made less, but if you're happier, more fulfilled, like bills are paid, your goals are hit, you know, like that's it. Like people want to make it complicated. It's like neither of us at the moment of recording have 10,000 followers yet, but like we're making it, you know, we're making it work. We like nobody has to know who we are. We're not celebrities, but like the business model works, you know, and we're happy and fulfilled and can take off December or take off July or play video games or like play guitar, you know, whatever. And and that's like my big goal for people is like, hey, like what are the fight for the intangibles and it'll work out. But anyway, we're ranting now. So
well, and I like, so here's the thing. I also, because I like figured out my niche and was able to like get everything done, I obviously wasn't able to do it again this year because of COVID, but every year I get to do like a couple of things just like pro bono for fun.
Yeah.
Like every year in the summer, I photograph a reunification picnic for children and parents who, for children who were placed in foster care and who were put back with their families.
That's super cool.
And they throw like a picnic and they give everyone toys and gifts and they barbecue, and I photograph it every single year. And I get to do that completely free because it's something that I love and because I'm making money doing other things that I love.
Right.
Like it doesn't have to be, I feel like sometimes there's a lot of people who will post and they just seem so jaded and like upset about, like again, before COVID, like they were just upset about like the clients they were getting and like the work that they were having to do. And it's like, it doesn't have to be that way.
Yeah.
And like when it came to my boudoir stuff, like, and I'm not knocking anyone, and I still have clients who want to come in and do stuff like I want to shoot in like my partner's jersey. And like, I'm never going to tell someone no, like do that if that's what fills you with joy.
Yeah.
But like one of the first things that I always want to tell people is like, please don't come in here and do this for your partner. Like, I have seen so many people who like won't, like they ask me like not to share their images anymore. They don't want to take them down. Their partner cheated on them. They got a divorce. Like you spent thousands on these memories and on this like experience with me and placed all of that energy into a relationship with someone who didn't deserve you in the first place. And now your memories are all tied to that.
Yeah.
And so it just becomes a thing where it's just like, people need to start doing, you don't have to be selfish in order to do things for yourself. I just don't believe that. I think it's like a good balance of knowing like what serves you and what doesn't.
Yeah, no, totally. And I mean, it's like I could see somebody coming to a boudoir photographer and wanting the stuff for the partner. I mean, I've had plenty of my couples get it done by somebody else or whatever. And at least on one end, it's like a nice thought. Like, hey, I got some photos done for my partner. It's a gift or whatever, you know, all that kind of stuff. And I think like, you know, that's one of those things where at least boudoir photographers listening, probably it's like to help niche is like, hey, what are your goals with this shoot? Right. You know, or like asking that client, like, what do you want to do? And that was the craziest thing about in DC is over time, I have friends who are full-time boudoir photographers now, like we talked about. And it's like, most of their clients are single. They're just doing it for them. They're doing it for their empowerment, for their liberation, for feeling good. You know, it's exploration in vulnerability. Like maybe they got a new job, they lost weight, they gained weight, they got stronger, they whatever reason, and they shouldn't have to have one. They just want to celebrate themselves, obviously. But it's like it's cool, you know. And it's like you have to. I think that's one of my main goals, photography wise, and yours as well, is like encourage more people to do that kind of thing. You know, and it's like it's okay. Especially I feel like for the ladies, doing something for yourself always was deemed as selfish. And it's like, it goes back to what we started up. Like for you, I feel like you're one of the few boudoir photographers I've seen actually have done a session themselves. And like the world has a better Tayanna because she also experienced those things. Like you went through that, and then you're also a better teacher, helper, you know, photographer with the people who need that. And you're like, hey, I've been there, homie. Like, and I think that's really cool. And it's like, again, this isn't about for somebody else, you know, or at least not first, right? Like it's for.
Yes. Yeah. And that's a good distinction to put on it too, is like, if you want to do it like for a partner, that's fine. Make that your secondary goal. Yeah. Make that your first goal should always be about you. And then you're like, oh, and I get to give this to someone and they get to experience this joy that I have brought myself in doing this.
Yeah.
And, I do. I get my photos taken by a new boudoir photographer every year. I just like to pick someone else to like spend my money on. I want to see myself as like I change and grow like throughout my journey and see how other people see me, which I think is really fun. That sounds a little narcissistic now that I say it out loud.
No,
but
you're safe.
But but I think it's really fun. And it's actually really funny because the first time I ever did it, was with someone who is no longer a boudoir photographer, but I got them and they were technically for my husband.
Yeah.
And he first saw them on Twitter and he said, hey, he like texted me and he said, you know those pictures you said you were doing for me? Because he'd been asking me to do them for like ever. And I was like, yeah, what's up? And he was like, can I get the link? And I was like, oh, fuck. Yeah, I can give that to you. My bad. And it's still something he laughs about like to this day because he knows he never gets to see them first anymore. I always like get super excited and I'm just like, look at my boobs, social media. And he's just like, and then he gets the leftovers. And it's very funny to both of us. I told him that one day I will remember to show him first. I just can't guarantee when that will be.
Yeah, I get you. That is so funny. That is hilarious. Let me check something real quick. It's just a technical stupid thing.
Yeah.
Of course, I can't check it because we're recording. Love that. Well, anyway, we'll just keep going, and I'll figure it out later. But at least Zoom is doing its job. So okay, that's really cool. That's awesome. I feel like that's what people need to know, but people are scared, right? Because it's like a whole other thing with boudoir and nudity and vulnerability. Like we're America, we're strong, we're trying to show our best selves or whatever. And it's like, what if your best self was your bare self, kind of deal? Like, what if your best self was like who you were and confident and I don't know. I think it's cool. What is correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure I heard this phrase like ethical boudoir either on your Instagram or from you personally. And maybe I'm wrong. But did I hear that from you? And then if so, like, what is that as opposed to, or is that just kind of what we've been talking about?
Yeah. I mean, it's quite possible. I throw around a lot of things and I honestly might just steal that phrase that you just said, that your best self might be your bare self. So if you like see that,
you can have it. That's for free. That's for you.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate that. So yeah, I throw a lot of stuff around. I mean, it's quite possible. I think that ethical boudoir is like the kind of act of, and I feel like a lot of people could take this a lot of different ways, honestly, but I see it as like the act of making sure that like your experience is all about that other person. So like there's a lot of like trying to make sure I try in every factor of my journey to like think about like consent when it comes to like photographing people. Yeah. And that can like range from like me making sure that I like step out of the room if like somebody's changing or like putting them behind a partition or asking them before I touch them. And like sending out pre-questionnaires to make sure that like, hey, is there anything that I should be aware of? Any trauma? Some people like can't be touched just like at all. Yeah. And it's just like a way in which you are stepping away from what is frankly a lot of the time the male gaze in boudoir and making it more about your mission and your client than making it about yourself and like how you want to shoot like hot babes and like do all this stuff. And really you're trying to like put out your message into the world that like, you don't have to be perfect. Like you come to my studio and we're going to meet each other where we are. Yeah. Like wherever you are right now is where we're going to be. Like, I don't need you to lose weight. I don't need you to do X, Y, and Z before you come in here. If you have some sort of a disability, if you have whatever, like I'm going to figure it out and we're going to work on this together. I like recently, like even just one of the things that was really important to me was I just moved into a studio where I'm paying like over $1,000 more in rent because one of the most important things to me was like, I wanted for people to be able to have wheelchair access to get into my building because I was on a 5th floor with an elevator that constantly broke. So, and I had a lot of people who messaged me and they're like, holy shit, like so many people don't even think about that. And it was a reason I was nervous to book you. And they were just like, that means a lot to me. And I'm just like, hey, like, obviously I'm not doing it for praise, but like, thank you. I'm really glad that like it's actually helping. And it wasn't just my inflated ego thinking like, hey, people need you to do this for them. And I'm just like, I just think it's common decency.
Yeah.
So I don't know. There's just a lot of stuff wrapped up in it, but I think it's honestly like making sure that you're doing Boudoir for the right reasons and like that there's no sneaky underhandedness in it, and making sure that you are doing whatever you can to create a really like good, honest experience for your clients and making sure it's a safe space for them.
I love that. I love that. Well, it's like, you know, I love what you mentioned about, and I tell my clients this all the time, where it's like, you don't have to lose weight. You don't have to do X, Y, Z. You don't have to do these things to be ready for this photo shoot. Like no matter what, you're already ready. You're already who you are, you know, whatever. And it's like, but especially with photos of any kind, people are so nervous, or people have so much trauma, or like, in the wedding world, you know, like we experience a lot of like backhanded comments from moms, you know, to sons and daughters, to whoever. And it's like, you know, you're just like, oh, like I can't kill everything, but I want to take away this, that feeling or that fear or that, you know, hesitation or whatever. And then like the wheelchair thing, it's like, you know, that's just thinking more, you know, of the marginalized, and like, all right, like what communities need this? What communities can I help out with? And again, it's like, you can't necessarily be perfect, but it doesn't mean that you can't be intentional, you know, like, and I love that, you know, and it's like, people don't think about that, but it's a big deal, you know, like we just talked to, last year, we talked to Kelly Lemon, who, it was a very clickbait title that I made her episode, but it's basically true. She's a one-armed wedding photographer. She had like something happen, in one of her arms to where it's basically like she can't use it anymore. And so she's really passionate about the, you know, the disabled community, able-bodied, you know, ableism, all that kind of stuff. And again, it's like, you know, it's it could be as simple as kind of what we talked about, but it's like, insert this kind of person and then just add need love too. You know, right? Like disabled people need love too. Like fat people need love too. Skinny people need love too. Bulimic, anorexic, like they need love too. And LGBTQ, like they need love too. And as photographers, it's like we can really help, you know, make people feel like they belong, because we use photos of things we care about and that matter. And it's like, all right, like I'm going to help you show what we already know, and it's that you matter and you have a purpose, and I care about you, and that you're loved, and you're already good enough, you know, kind of deal. That's really cool. That's awesome. I haven't even thought about the wheelchair thing, but it makes perfect sense, because especially in cities, like even my old studio was hard to get to for able-bodied people. I was like, oh, yeah, this is awful. And for me being overweight, I was like, I don't like these stairs. But
oh my God, the amount of times that our elevator broke, and I was just like, my fat ass has to walk up how many stairs? I'm not doing this.
Yeah.
And I think it's like I think being intentional is also like a really good way to put that, is like, it's really funny when you see certain things go on and then you're like, you don't think anyone can see through that, can you? But like, especially marginalized people, like know when we're being taken advantage of, or when someone is just like trying to like get a leg up. And like, it's trendy now to be like any kind of inclusive. Like the thing is, like, you'll see people all the time who are just like, I want to shoot more gay couples. And it's like, are you surrounding yourself with those people? Are you friends with gay people?
Yeah. Yeah.
Why haven't you ever photographed any of them?
Yeah.
Are you trying to like reach across the aisle? Are you speaking for them in your like Instagram stories when you're like sharing pictures of like your lattes? Like, are you like also posting things and like letting them know that like you're here to like rally for them? Or are you just going to say something in private because, you know, you want other people to think that's what you're doing?
Yeah.
And I've experienced like just even more of it, especially since like last year with like the riots and stuff like that. I just talked about this the other day, is when like that happened, like I was featured on like bride.com, like I got like a few features, and people were up my ass. Like I have never had so many people like reach out to me and tell me like, oh, I admire you so much, and blah, 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 blah. And all these people who I'd never talked to before, like a bunch of big name photographers like followed me, never said a word, but they followed me. And I don't like think that anyone is expected to talk to me, but it's just like I got all this attention, and then like as soon as like all that kind of died down, it stopped.
Everything else.
I had so many people so my husband's Jewish.
Yeah.
and he's got like those nice curls, and we're both fat. And so people were just like, yeah, they were just like, oh, hell yeah, we hit the like jackpot. Like we've got like this Jewish man and this like Black woman, and like she's a photographer, and I can do all this stuff, and I can like get my own fan base up. And so I had so many people reach out, and they're like, we'd love to photograph you sometime. And then like, obviously I was not ever going to let anybody do that for free, just because that's not me. I can't do that. My brain won't let me do that.
Well, and that's the point, or that's one of the many points. It's like, no, like we should also like, anyway, sorry. No.
It's, and like, that's exactly what it is. And I was just like, and then later in the year, I tried to cash in on that, and like nobody wanted to. And I was like, I thought like you were so interested in us as people, but like, no. And you know what? I saw through it. But at the same time, I was just like, I like your work. Sure, let me pay you to do something. And it's just been really weird, because that's something that we also try to do as a couple. Is every year we don't ever plan on really having kids or anything. We might our plan is eventually to foster like LGBTQ youth who have been kicked out of their homes, just so we can be like, yeah, come back here for Christmas, or let's help you like go through school or something. And so like we have pictures so that one day we can be like, we were people too, before we were just like a home for like these teens who eat too much food. And and we weren't able to do it because of COVID this year, and just because like we tried a couple times and everything just kind of like got washed out. And so it's just like really hard, because it also doesn't make me want to like befriend a lot of people, because I'm just like, am I your token friend? Is that what we're doing here?
No, totally. I mean, that's what I saw. We had a lot of, I was very fortunate, and I feel like, being in DC, formerly known as Chocolate City, still, people say it's Chocolate City, and like, it not to say this in that way, but like I have actual Black friends, and I had, I've been with the Black community, and being in DC, and my wife and I both moved here to be with this community, and it's like, there was something about it, like talking to other photographers, and it was crazy, because like these are my friends, and I see, they're getting picked up now. Oh, that global brand spot they weren't going to have, as a commercial photographer. Oh, they just got picked up. Oh, and they're also going to do the shoot, but they're also going to get a bio done about them from the, Michelob Ultra, or, so whatever, like who's trying to show that they're okay with it. And it's a weird dichotomy, right? Because on one side I'm like, hey, get the bag, get it while it's hot, like do it as much as possible, because we know we can't trust it, like you guys know we can't trust it. And it's like, it's disappointing. And I've talked to a lot of people about this performative kind of thing. And it's like, there's either like normal constant, which doesn't necessarily have to be, hey, I'm a megaphone all the time about this thing, but like in the shadows, whoever you are is actually who you are, or whatever. And it's like, hey, like if you're have an active relationship at some level with these people, ironically, like there was no, I don't know. Yeah, that situation is so upsetting and complicated. And on one side, I want to give the benefit of the doubt and say, hey, maybe somebody told them to go find more people of color who are photographers, and they were like, here we go, Goodbodieskc, especially being in Missouri, kind of like we talked about before. And they're like, all right, I want to just hear the experience from her and follow her as if I wanted to follow anybody else, whatever. But at the same time, that the whole situation, like, Harper's Bazaar, heads rolled. Brides, heads rolled. All these things were moving. Editorial situations were moving. Like a few of my friends, Monique Melton, I was on her podcast like 3 years ago. We were good friends. Blew up on Instagram, as she should, right? Because she's amazing. But it was like, she quickly, it went from, you can tell from, oh yeah, this is exciting. Okay, yeah, people want to learn. Like, hey, this is what we got to do. All that kind of stuff. To feeling that like, I can't say how she felt, but I would feel bitter. I'd be like, okay, like this, is this a true relationship kind of thing? But yeah, that sucks. That's not fun at all. But ironically, that wasn't why I had you on the podcast, but that's the point. It's like, hey, I didn't have her come on for this. It's like, hey, we're going to have her talk about her expertise. And then, also you're going to hear from a diverse voice. Right. Or, whatever. Like we're not trying to hit the diversity gold mine here. Right. But it's also like there are lots of talented, incredible people of color creators who are like, are awesome, obviously. So it's like, hey, we need to talk to them. And I don't know.
Yeah. And like, I feel like it's happened. I've just been kind of playing the field and like trying to figure out like what social media like really sticks for me too, like as far as things. And I think sometimes like I get exhausted being on social media all day. I get exhausted, and I love that I don't have to do it as much as I once did in order to like keep a fan base or like keep like inquiries flowing in.
Sure.
But at the same time, just trying to like stay like hip and on top of things. Like I'm almost 30 and I'm just kind of like, I don't really know what is going to stick around, like what's going to do what. And like at this point, trying to like be a part of things like this, like coming on this podcast. And I have like another appearance that I'm doing on Saturday.
Yeah.
For where I just like show people how to take like sexy selfies for their partner.
That's so cool.
And yeah, I'm really excited about it. Very nerve wracking. They were like, are you sure you want to be in your underwear? Like we have like 20,000 followers. And I was like, I'm always in my underwear. Like, it's fine. It's not going to be anything new. And they were like, okay, we can't stop anybody from saying things. And I was like, again, like I'm used to it at this point.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. And so it's just really cool. Like I like taking opportunities to talk to people whose like work I really like and whose like work ethic I really respect. So at no point was I like ever like weary about like some of these things. And believe me, I know how to say no.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of like, it's nice to be able to do things like this and like talk to people and reach an audience that I don't know if I would have reached before. And like being able to just kind of like share perspective and like let people know that boudoir isn't necessarily what you think it is.
Totally.
And I don't know. I think it's just also like the way that people run their business. Like I have like my group of mentees, like I think I took on like 10 or 11 for last year. And it's like, I've closed it for a couple months just because I was just like, oh, I didn't think that many people wanted to learn from me.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like, I gave them constant access to me. And while I don't regret it, I'm also just like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
But there's like like learning and like talking to these people and like talking them through their business is fascinating. Like, and I have a couple people who are from my own city, and one of them came in and she told me that, because I was always like, I always tell people, find your thing. Like, what's your thing? You need something that's going to set you apart, because boudoir is becoming a thing for people. Sure. Like I've been doing this for 5 years. And when I first started doing it, nobody gave a shit.
Yeah.
And, I was like, you have to figure out that thing that makes you shine. So one of my people was like, oh, I do same day viewings. And I was like, way too much work for me. She has someone on site, like a licensed masseuse, and you get a massage in between your fucking photos and you're viewing.
That's awesome.
And I said, what the hell? How did I not think of that? I was so angry. I was just like, and now I can't take that. Like, that's your thing.
Yeah.
And it's brilliant. And just like learning how other people's minds work and how smart they are when it comes to stuff like that is just absolutely mind blowing to me. I have someone else who now does custom flower installations whenever you come in and do stuff. So like you get like your own like whole setup taken up. I have someone who does like all kinds of stuff just with like different like textured drapery and things like that. And I'm just like, the way your minds work, mine could never.
Well, it's like a reflection of who you are and what you care about, right? And it's what we talked about. No, that's so funny. Yeah, more people need to find their thing, and it's like Tayanna's thing is her thing, and Adam's thing is his thing, and no, I get that. That's super cool. Well, we don't have 20,000 followers, so I'm glad you felt comfortable talking about it here. Also, for the viewers, obviously Tayanna is not in her underwear, as far as I know. But it's,
I'm in my great Adam Sandler shirt.
That's awesome. That's cool. Well, sweet. What else? Is there anything else you want to say you got coming up? You have that big appearance, doing some sexy selfies, how to do that. What else in 2021? Like, what's your 2021 look like? Hopefully.
So right now I'm expanding, doing a launch of like a series of stuff for people who want to get into boudoir, calling it From Start to Business. I also stole that from somebody else. So like a lot of my phrases are coming from people smarter and funnier than me.
That's because we love you. You can have it. It's okay. We're here to support.
I appreciate that. So this weekend, I'm actually putting out a sexy selfie tutorial. Okay. I'm actually, when we hop off of here, I'm headed to my studio just because there's no dogs to get in all of my photos. And so I'm going to film some stuff with a cell phone, put it out. It'll be like $25 if anyone wants to learn how to take sexy selfies on their own for a partner or for yourself.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, it's mostly just going to be really trying to hone in. I started, like I said, my YouTube channel yesterday, Goodbodieskc.
That's so cool.
And I'm super excited about it. I have like a Patreon. I'm like I said, my hand's in a lot of buckets right now, and we're going to see what sticks and what doesn't.
Yeah.
But for now, like I'm just kind of having fun and trying to see like what I like to do.
I love it. That is so awesome. Well, yeah, I didn't even mean to talk about this, but yeah, please, this is a favor. If after this comes out, if you're happy with everything and this was a positive experience for you,
Yeah.
help us get John Branch on the podcast, please.
Oh, yeah.
I've been looking for like a YouTube person, and no offense to John, but like Manny Ortiz isn't answering his emails, or Jared Poland ain't answering his emails. And I'm like, okay, like I need the next person in line. And I saw John in our group and I was like, this is the guy,
Oh my God. He's so smart and he's so nice and he's just so helpful.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I'm not an introvert by any means, but I'm also not exactly an extrovert. And so I need someone who is good with like banter, who can keep up a conversation, because otherwise I just feel like I talk too damn much, because I'm like, please don't let any awkward silences happen because I can't handle it. And so like we started talking, and just like his knowledge and the amount of things he was able to help me with, and his YouTube channel is amazing. Like he does great with his tutorials.
Yeah.
I will definitely talk to him. He is amazing, and he would be really fun to do an interview with, I think.
Yeah, I feel like he seems like a nice guy anyway. Either way, I'm like, yeah. And then the YouTube niche is, I'm like, hey, everybody else, no one's talking about this, and we need to, he's like, he wasn't YouTube first, which I think is helpful to be like, hey, come hang out with the photo people before you become a YouTube, like a full YouTuber. Let's get you before, like, we know you're already big, and he's going to be even bigger. And I'm like, please come get you now, please. Like, just please. Awesome. Well, very cool. Where's the best place for people to go and find, the majority of everything we just talked about? Can people, even if they're not, if you don't follow them, can they DM you? Can they ask questions? All that kind of stuff.
Yeah, please feel free. I think the easiest place to reach me is on Instagram, which is instagram.com/Goodbodieskc. And I try, like, I'm not the best at that because I get a lot of DMs, but I try to do that. I try to answer like anonymous questions every Tuesday for anybody who's wondering about stuff. And then in my bio, I have links to everything that I just talked about. So my Patreon, my YouTube, everything. And I do my best at answering questions. Sometimes things might be a little bit more extensive, and I might kind of be like, you sure you don't want to hop on a call about this? But I answer what I can in the DMs. I really do. It's just, my brain is 7 million places at once.
I love it. Awesome. Well, Tayanna, thank you so much for coming on. It was a pleasure to have you. It was awesome.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Guys, thank you so much for checking out The Bearded Hog. It really means a lot. If you can, leave a like on the video. If you want to see more videos, subscribe to the channel and hit the bell for notifications on when new videos come out immediately. Have a wonderful day, guys, and keep being awesome.